We're going to now talk about that Elon Musk interview. He did not hold back at yesterday's DealBook summit. We talked about a lot of things for a lot of time. We talked about advertisers pulling money from X, and of course that has gone viral. Let's show you what he said.
I hope they stop.
You hope?
Don't advertise.
You don't want them to advertise?
No.
What do you mean?
If somebody's going to try to blackmail me with advertising, blackmail me with money, go yourself.
But
go yourself. Is that clear? I hope it is. Hey, Bob, if you're in the audience.
well, let me ask you then.
That's how I feel. Don't advertise.
That was a reference to Bob Iger, CEO of Disney, who had been with us at DealBook earlier in the day. They had pulled their advertising from X over the comments that Elon had made on Twitter a week and a half ago that have raised all sorts of questions and concerns throughout the country and the world about anti-Semitism and the like. I want to show you this next piece, though, because I think this is important, and a lot of pieces are getting overshadowed by this first piece.
He wasn't there at that point.
Bob, I don't believe, was there at that point. I think he left.
He's seen it.
I imagine he's seen it. I think he was there when the vice president was there, and I think he was sticking around a little bit after that. There was then, I believe, a board meeting because there was also some Disney news later in the day, which I'm sure we'll also get to today.
He stuck around for the vice president, but not Elon.
We had a board meeting.
There was a board meeting. Musk also responding to criticism over that tweet that created this firestorm, and this is what he had to say. Take a look.
I'm sorry for that tweet or post. It was foolish of me. Of the 30,000, it might be literally the worst and dumbest post that I've ever done. And I tried my best to clarify 6 ways to Sunday. But, at least I think over time it will be obvious that, in fact, far from being anti-Semitic, I'm in fact philo-Semitic. And all the evidence in my track record would support that.
I encourage people to watch the rest of the interview on just even on that topic, because this was the first time he publicly apologized about it. And more importantly, and it was interesting to me and a surprise, I think it was a surprise to me, I think it was a surprise to probably most of the public. We had seen him take this trip to Israel, and I think it was viewed in large part as an apology tour of some sort in the midst of this tweet, and that they were connected. He said no. He said that was not what had happened. He said that he was already planning to go there. And I think a lot of people saw that he had that other tweet when he went to Israel that said, actions speak louder than words, and that was his apology. Yeah. He had not said that he apologized or had said he felt bad about that tweet at all. Had never really emoted about that tweet publicly in any way. And if you really get into that sort of piece of that interview,
it seemed very sincere.
I think it was very genuine.
But then he explained
very genuine. And then I said, "What did you mean by that?" And he explained it. And he explained it.
Didn't really walk back from.
Yep.
When you talk about seeing the many sides of Elon Musk, that's the example of it. He was very thoughtful, apologetic, never meant to do that, and said it was stupid. Right. I genuinely believed what he was saying.
When he posted it, I don't think he was in any way referencing or lending credence to that, whatever that crazy conspiracy theory that actually, I guess, is around, because it was responsible for one of the synagogue attacks at the synagogue, was an accolade of that conspiracy theory. But I don't think Musk at that point.
Look, I think he knows it was a mistake, because we talked about not just the condemnation, from the White House and everywhere else, but what we also talked about was, I'm Jewish. There were a lot of people who looked at that tweet originally and thought, "What are you doing? Why are you saying this?" But the other side, which is what I said to him directly, I said, which is worse. I said, there are genuine anti-Semites who looked at that tweet and said, "He's with us."
Right.
And I think he appreciated. I think he in that moment, if it wasn't before that moment, I think it was probably even before that moment that he understood that.
But the animus, I don't think he cares about the White House criticism. The animus with the Biden White House, because of not being invited to any of that was so clear how.
Well, we should hopefully we'll show some of that tape too, because you can really.
He's pissed.
I was talking to somebody after the interview. In Us magazine, there are these little pages that says they're just like us.
Yeah.
And you could say, is Elon Musk just like us? And people look at all sorts of people with lots of money, with lots of success, with a great title on a business card.
Still be mad, Harvard
No,
grad.
and the truth is that everybody is a person, and they have feelings. And I know that's I don't know if I hope I'm not coming across as too empathetic to that piece of it, but I think it's good.
Here's what I don't understand. I understand his animus towards Bill Gates for shorting his stock, because that really was a move to try and shut the company down. I don't quite understand the same animus towards advertisers who decide to no longer advertise on X because they don't like what's there and they don't want their brand associated with that.
Right.
It's not their job to pay for somebody's free speech. If I feel like my brand is not being helped by the money I'm spending here, I'm not going to spend my money.
I mean, I hope that people get an opportunity to see the full interview, because what I said to him was, it's not in the, he said very directly, he said, the people are going to see it.
And they're going to say this is the takedown.
And they're going to blame those companies. And I said, Elon, it may very well be that they blame you, because those companies are going to say, I don't want to be in an environment where I feel uncomfortable that something like this is going to happen.
Why would I spend money if I think it's going to hurt my brand by being associated with stuff that may be winding up on this thing?
Just for a second, back to where he said, we sold 300,000 cars, EVs last year, and GM sold 26. Do you remember that number? He came up with that. So he had that ready to go to. And meanwhile, what's GM doing? GM's almost any extra profits they have from internal combustion trucks is now going to a buyback. It's not even going. They're barely trying.
Mary Barra was on with Phil yesterday too.
But Biden called him the GM, the leading company in the EV
and I
transition.
Think that pained him. I mean, this goes back to the
that I understand more too.
He said he's not going to vote for Biden no matter what. He did not say he's not voting. I don't think he would vote for Trump, but he didn't come out and just say it. He just said it's a very bad choice, and then everybody laughed in the audience and said, "Yeah, welcome to." 2024.
Let me show you a little bit more, because we also talked about OpenAI. Elon Musk, of course, is a co-founder of OpenAI, and I asked him about the recent saga at the company. This is what he had to say.
OpenAI was actually started, and it was meant to be open source. I named it OpenAI after open source. It is, in fact, closed source, super closed. It should be renamed super closed source for maximum profit AI. So, because this is what it actually is. It's gone from an open source foundation, a 501c3, to suddenly it's like a $90 billion for-profit corporation with closed source. So I don't know how you go from here to there, but that seems like I don't know how you get, I don't know, is this legal? I think Ilya actually has a strong moral compass. He thinks about, he really sweats it over questions of what is right. And if Ilya felt strongly enough to want to, fire Sam, well, I think the world should know what was that reason.
Have you talked to him?
I've reached out, but he doesn't want to talk to anyone.
Have you talked to other people behind the scenes? Is this all happening?
I've talked to a lot of people. I've not found anyone who knows why. Have you?
I think we are all still trying to find out.
I mean, look, one of two things is either it was a serious thing and we should know what it is, or it was not a serious thing and then the board should resign.
That's just a piece of a very lengthy interview that touches so many other places.
It then went to such, it almost, like read science fiction about the singularity and things like that. And he said, what was funny, he goes, when will it be smarter than the smartest human? He goes, well, the smartest human? Because it's already smarter than like almost every, like the average human's already smarter. But he said in less than 3 years, smarter than, and I think he was not necessarily talking about himself, but he was talking about like really brilliant.
I also thought a nugget that not a lot of people have picked up on yet. He effectively said, and we've talked about copyrighted material, IP, and how these models train on material. Sam Altman and others have said, we don't train on copyrighted material. And he said that is an utter lie. He said they've been training on copyrighted material the entire time. I thought that was fascinating.
So what does that mean for if they are now a profitable company?
Well, and he also went on to, and then we also got into the fact that he has possibly a digital gold mine in Twitter, because all of the content that lives on X today is his. And when he's training on that content. And unlike others where you had to go get the copyrighted things and it might not have been something you could do, that he's got it.